So from your experience, and if you want to list some case studies, feel free. What would be of course, there's, like you said, there's the top 10 companies in the world that are all adapting to this. And if you see, even Aramco is right now reverse engineer. But, from a perspective of this part of the adapting to the ecosystem and getting to the ecosystem, what be the advice you give to business, small, medium, and big? Because at the end of the day, it's the same advice, but of course with different instruments.
Yeah. So let me start, and then Venkat, please step in. I think first and foremost, we are really pushing businesses to kind of take a step back and look at their core businesses fundamentally different. To be very clear, the ecosystem idea, we are very proud that we wrote a book about it, but by now, it's not a very controversial topic. Most companies in the world would recognize that. Most conferences, people would speak about the barriers between sectors going down, maybe a touch less enthusiastically or passionately than us, but this is now so visible, so unquestionable, cutting through cycles. In fact, actually, during situations like COVID, they actually show how stronger ecosystems are than traditional supply chains. So this is not the problem that people don't necessarily recognizing it. They are facing two problems and two challenges that they have to fight. The first one is, can you really take a step back and think about what is the fundamental customer need you are solving? It's even for the smartest of people, if they spend same 20, 30 years in the same industry, they get used to a certain type of thinking. It's very hard to recognize that, hey, I'm actually not in the car making business. I'm actually in the mobility business. Cars are just part of a fundamental need to mobility. Hey, I'm not, when I'm kind of making wellness shoes or wellness or clothes, I'm actually part of a broader health and wellness type of universe rather than just, making product. So step number one, try to really, for them, take a look at what is the fundamental need you are solving, right? People don't want payments or credit cards. They want to buy products. Payments and credit cards just as necessary elements, and make them invisible or comfortable, and we will use it. Then make sure that the companies are rethinking how they think about partnerships, because the core concept of ecosystems, even if you look at the biological definition, is this incredibly complicated and beautiful partnerships and collaboration of symbiotes, creatures, sometimes creatures hunting each other, but mainly they are coexisting in large, complex ecosystems. And we argue business is much more like this, and especially in the future, when it's freed up from the sectoral different barriers, it will be much more like a very traditional, healthy, constantly growing ecosystem. So think about your partnerships. And what Venkat always likes to point out, if you say, oh, well, we have partners because we have suppliers and distributors, then you're wrong. Those are not the type of partnership you need to think about. You may want to cooperate with your biggest competitors. You want to compete with your biggest cooperators. You want to think about partnerships which truly grow the pie rather than share. So that's number one. Really think about what need you are serving and how you are partnering across serving it, and really break out of the box. And again, intellectually, everybody agrees, but it's hard because you have to change embedded thinking. The other part, which is equally hard, is the organizational governance. So again, most companies are very smart. They see the writing on the wall. And we mentioned the tech companies, but I want to emphasize that in almost any industry, from toy making to insurance, by now the largest and most valuable companies are cross-industrial, right? They do cut across businesses. What is the challenge is how to run an existing organization which was designed for one traditional industry and yet build new businesses in parallel. It's not something you can do on the side of your deck. It's like Goldilocks zone in a planetary system. If you get too close to the sun, you get burned. If you are too far, you freeze. Same applies. If you try to build this too close to the core company, then of course it's very hard to fight the gravity of everyday business. If you get too far, you will be just like, some kind of nice little ideation. Find this zone in between when you can incubate, accelerate, but lead it back to the business, when you can fail fast and experiment, but you still can do it at scale and really create cross-industrial journeys for customers. That is the other thing. So at least, again, I'm oversimplifying, but these two big elements are what we try to tell to our clients.
Yeah. Dinis, maybe I'll add just a couple of quick things to this. You asked us, what do we advise and how do we advise on this topic? One of the things I'm just going to maybe re-emphasize what Miklos said. When you develop your strategy, historically, when you look at developing a strategy, you look at where's my market going, where are my competitors going, how do I position myself in the market and things like that. There's one very critical element missing in that strategy development process. That is, you more often than not, most companies do not take the view of what ecosystem do I need to serve those customers' needs. Do I need one? In most cases, they do. If the answer is yes, we do need one. And are you part of an ecosystem that's existing today, or do you need a new ecosystem to serve those customers' needs? And if you need a new ecosystem, are you going to develop one, or are you going to rely on somebody else's? Those sets of questions, embedding those sets of questions and answering them thoughtfully in the strategic development process is the really new way that we would like our companies to think about and really get to position themselves to get ahead in the ecosystem economy evolution. That's one point. The second point I'd like to make on this is it's often very exciting, and I'll use the term very sexy to say, okay, I am the orchestrator. I'll play the role of the platform developer, and then I will build the ecosystem. By the way, some companies are really positioned well to do something like that, but you got to be really careful on what role are you taking. Are you be the anchor, or you be the participant on somebody else's ecosystem, or you could be somewhere in between. Choosing that role is very, very critical. You could make, just like the way Miklos was saying about the Goldilocks zone for government, it's equally important to figure out what role are you going to play in that ecosystem. And if you're not careful, and if you're not thoughtful, and if you're overly ambitious, or not as ambitious as you should be, you could really either burn yourself, or you could also leave a ton of value on the table. So that's a very, very critical thing. And in the book we go through at least some approach on how you get to grips with and how you determine the way in which you would determine that role. So those are two additional things, Dinis, I thought would be beneficial to add to what Miklos said.
No, excellent. And I think this is actually, I like the metaphor of the Goldilocks, but I think it's really important that we can actually go and get deep in this ecosystem. Like you said, the concept right now is accepted. I think it's mostly by big corporations, because the rest of the economy is struggling to define even the concept of digital transformation and a lot of other things, which I think is much more important, because, for instance, there's around 400 million SMEs and micro SMEs, at least there's different numbers, but this is one of the numbers, and 90% don't even have a website, and they struggle with digital.